Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters, and welcome back to game number 4 between the red Zerg player DongRaeGu and the blue Terran player Thorzain. This map is Antiga Shipyard. It is a relatively new map on the, I guess, the ladder pool, the Blizzard ladder pool rather. Was designed by Blizzard. Much like Shakuras Plateau, it has an extremely easy to defend expansion right here. I think it has full 8 mineral patches as well as 2 gases, and then a ramp that leads into that covers both your main base and your expansion. And then it actually has a relatively easy to take third as well, although Zerg players do love to attack the third through this destructible debris that defends the alternate entrance into the third base, so it's not super easy to take. Very large map though, very macro oriented, much like many of the previous maps that we've seen today. We do see that if Thorzain tends to go, I mean, it seems like his most success, actually his only win so far, has actually come from when he's been doing some kind of drop, and not when he did the double command center build. He actually was not able to just deal enough damage, and DongRaeGu is just such a good macro player that he was able to just completely out macro Thorzain in that situation. And so we'll see if Thorzain tries for some sort of early rush strategy, or if he thinks that he can out macro DongRaeGu in the long run again in a different game, different map, different situation. Of course, it's always going to be different. Now, I don't know if DongRaeGu has actually sent an SCV to see if an Overlord is over there. I don't think he actually has. Was that Overlord spotted? I do not believe that Overlord was spotted. So DongRaeGu did in fact spot the barracks, then turn around right away. Wants to make sure that his Overlord is not going to be seen so that Thorzain doesn't know exactly where he's spawning. Looks like he is going to get his 3 on gas right away, and is getting a relatively normal timed gas. This SCV is probably going to be scouting. Yep, it looks like he is going to be scouting, and he's going to be scouting the correct direction, as you can see from the Q on the map. We also see that he is going. DongRaeGu is going for a hatch first, just like all of the previous games. Always, I feel like against Terran, that's super likely. Basically, it's very unlikely that you'll be going for a gas first. Although Zerg players do differ in terms of their style. DongRaeGu does love him some hatch first, though, and with proper control, you should be able to stop any sort of bunker rushes or something like that happening. This is actually fairly close spawns, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Thorzain actually try some sort of bunker rush strategy in this sort of situation, especially since you do see that DongRaeGu did opt for the gas in front of the spawning pool, so the spawning pool is delayed just a little bit more even from normal. That Marine is coming up though. He did opt for only 1 barracks. He is getting a factory right now, and he is going for Reactor Hellion opening. Raptor Hellion expand, most likely, is what he's going for, just like previously what we saw. And actually, is he going to be able to get a drone kill? Oh, not quite able to get the drone kill there. Is just going to turn around, wants to make sure not to lose those early forces to any Zerglings that are moving around, as the Hellions will be out and about, so it's good to keep your Marines alive so they can defend your base while the Hellions are, out attacking elsewhere, poking at the Zerg base, seeing if they can deal any sort of damage to the mineral line or something like that, especially since there is a weakened Zergling, or working drone rather. Although that weakened drone is actually probably going to be fully healed up by the time any sort of Hellions actually get to him, or it'll be mostly healed up. You can see the Zerglings very rudely pushing the Automaton 2000 out of the way. Poor Automaton 2000 never gets any respect. Looks like that Overlord might be able to be taken out if it was spotted by Thorzain, but he doesn't quite know it's there, so it's not really going to do him too much good. It is going to be a somewhat delayed speed, though, so actually these 2 reactor Hellions should be able to clear out those Zerglings. Looks like the Zerglings, well, he'll kill that 1 Zergling. If the rest of the Zerglings hung out here, he would be taken out as well. Looks like DongRaeGu, looks like the Hellion went the wrong way. DongRaeGu is going to lose that Zergling. Does get 1 shot off on that Hellion. Going to take it down to 85 health from 90. The expansion is going up for Thorzain as well, as it is a Reactor Hellions expanded. I wouldn't be surprised to see the bunker and the, and actually, never mind, or the barracks, not the bunker, and the tech light, the barracks and the factory switch, but they opted not to do that. He is just going to start stim instead, and aim for a relatively early stim, just like we saw in the Tal'Darim map. So it looks like those Hellions are just going to slide around the front. Actually, there is not a spine crawler up. Is there not a spine crawler at all? Yeah, there is no spine crawler. So actually, these Hellions could be reasonably effective here in this situation. Looks like the Zerglings though are going to move up. So actually, if Thorzain rather, there it goes. Now the spine crawler comes down, but that is in fact too late to really do much good, as one of the queens is already down in yellow health, and kind of dark yellow health. So he is getting more and more weakened. And actually, if the Hellions were just a little bit more aggressive. I think they could actually deal a lot of damage here. There were a lot of Zerglings being created, which is going to hurt DongRaeGu's overall drone count. I think Thorzain just wants to be very careful not to lose these Hellions. He is building, is that 3 more barracks? No, just 2 more barracks. Okay, so he's going to have 3 barracks total. He is getting a reactor on those barracks, though. Or at least on one of those barracks, and probably going to be getting one on the other one as well. As just as soon as it finishes, the spine crawler does go up, which means that most of the harassment from the Hellions is not going to be successful anymore. The expansion for Thorzain is going to be up as well, and actually these Hellions are doing a good job of stopping DongRaeGu from being able to take a third. So as of right now, Thorzain is just a little bit ahead. You can see the supply counts though are exactly similar at this time. In terms of the worker counts, however, we see that the Zerg is at a slight lead, but the mineral intake is actually about the same. The Zerg is a little bit higher on gas, I think. I'm not actually sure. Oh, because the Terran is not taking either of their gases right now. But the reason that they are the same on minerals is because of Terran mules, of course, as well as it looks like a couple of the extra SCVs for Thorzain are in fact just harvesting minerals and not getting gas, at least quite not yet. If we go to the production tab, we can see that Stim is almost finished. Stim did in fact just finish, and he's actually building 3 Marines as well as Siege Tank at a time, so he's building quite the formidable force. He has started combat shields as well as weapons level 1 for his infantry, so in, how long is that? 110 seconds, it should be quite formidable. The Hellion still staying outside, keeping DongRaeGu stuck inside of his base, although it looks like he probably has enough Zerglings at this time to be able to take those out. If he gets to get surrounded, that might be a little bit difficult. You can see that he's moving the creep tumors along the top of the cliffs here. Part of that is just to make sure that the Hellions are not able to pick them off, which is part of the advantage that the Hellions are giving as well. Looks like Thorzain will be moving out for a little bit of an attack here. Actually, both people are supply blocks again. I feel like a lot of supply blocks have been happening. They are scanning, though, to take out these creep tumors. Looks like they will be able to take out all the creep tumors on the edge, not able to take out that Overlord, however, though. And Thorzain is probably going to be looking to want to set up. He actually does not have siege mode at this time, so Banelings could be very effective here. It looks like DongRaeGu did, in fact, finish morphing a bunch of Banelings. He does not have Baneling speed, and in fact, no, he does have a lair, but he does not have Baneling speed. So he will, actually, of course he has a lair. He's got a bunch of Mutalisks. So the Marines should be able to dodge them even on creep. However, it's not going to be super easy to be able to dodge them. I don't think Thorzain really has many turrets. In fact, he's just building a couple of turrets. He does have some Marines there that'll actually be able to scare away those Mutalisks pretty effectively, as long as he puts them on the edge. DongRaeGu might decide just to fight through. Looks like he is actually just going to run on through and make sure he can get as many Mutalisks out as possible. It did make Thorzain go home, although I think Thorzain was just looking to take out creep tumors. The fact that he didn't have siege mode is a large indicator he wasn't actually planning on taking sort of initial action at that point in time. Looks like the third is now going to be taken. Oh, where's he? Oh, I thought the drone was he must have misclicked the drone. I thought he was like going to go all the way down here and sneak a third or something like that. But it looks like he will be taking a typical third. He's also going to bust this third to make Thorzain more difficult to be able to take it. This is kind of a close spot. I feel like it actually favors the player on DongRaeGu's side in this perspective, because it means that your third is actually farther away from your opponent than this third is, because this third is right next to like where their army is and it's facing their army, whereas this one, you kind of have to go across the tunnel to be able to get involved there. Those Hellions, though, getting a lot of kills against those Zerglings. It's a lot of fried Zergling meat lying on the ground right there. Very good job on their part, and actually those are some losses that DongRaeGu should have tried to avoid if possible. Looks like he will be setting up siege tanks. He does not set them up in time. And in fact, the Banelings are going to stream on through. He tries to flank to limit the amount of Marine movement, and actually, almost all the Banelings were taken out. One last hit. It does do a decent amount of damage to the Marines, but a number of Marines are actually surviving right now. So Thorzain doing quite well in this push. More Banelings are morphing in. We see only 3 more Banelings, however, as DongRaeGu is just a little bit gas-starved as he did go Mutalisk heavy. Mutalisk now able to, I think he was trying to kill a tank there through the bouncing. Looks like this expansion will in fact be locked down by these Marines as well. Will be able to snipe both those tanks. Great job on his part, but some focus firing should be able to deal with any sort of Banelings that are coming through. Some reinforcements coming in from Thorzain, and looks like able to get a couple of extra shots on those Mutalisks, getting a Mutalisk kill right there. A bunch of Zerglings, though, that when combined with the Mutalisks are in fact going to take out the rest of this push. Some more reinforcements are streaming in, but looks like they are going to turn tail and head back and try to regroup in terms of an attack right now. Looks like the counterattack is going to come from DongRaeGu, though. He wants to try to deal as much damage as possible to these forces. And actually, that siege tank was not able to fire. Well, maybe it was able to fire exactly one shot. I thought it was going to fire any shots. Hellions are engaging Marines. It's not something you typically want to do. They are in low numbers, so it should be fairly effective. This bunker is going to prevent any sort of future incursions from those Mutalisks, however. We can actually see DongRaeGu pumping more and more gas into these Mutalisks, so he's actually going to remain baneling light for the time being. And in this sort of situation, it's actually fairly difficult to make Mutalisks terribly effective just because of how close spawns they are. All Thorzain has to do to get the Mutalisks to go home is simply attack, and all of a sudden, DongRaeGu has to bring his Mutalisks back in order to be able to defend his base. We do see a bunch of banelings coming in, though. Looks like he did, in fact, get enough gas. Looks like he's probably going to be going for a bust, as we do have 16 Zerglings on the way. I don't know if that's going to be enough, though, as there is a pretty good Marine spread on the part of Thorzain here, as well as a bunker, which, of course, the banelings will probably target the bunker. But the siege tank, as well, is going to deal a lot of damage to those banelings. But we have a lot of Zerglings coming in. Wow, I've never seen a baneling bust just kind of randomly tried like this, except maybe by July Zerg. July Zerg will do a baneling bust like this, but looks like this Marine is going to come out here and see the large amount of banelings hanging outside. Wow, even more banelings are being morphed in at this time. They do have baneling speed, which is now completed, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it is now completed. We do have 2 siege tanks, however, as well as a second factory, which is allowing Thorzain to get more forces, but it looks like the banelings are going to be streaming in. They're heading straight for the supply depots, able to take out a tank right away, but it looks like the bunker is actually going to live. That's a little bit of poor control from DongRaeGu. It looks like the rest of these banelings are in fact going to be taken out. A number of surviving Marines, as well as surviving Marines inside of the bunker itself, are actually going to be able to emerge unscathed after that engagement, and actually that was a very poor engagement on the part of DongRaeGu. I think he's going to be very far behind. Oh, wow. Actually, it's exactly even now, but I think he was probably ahead in terms of units lost before that, because I don't think that was an even fight. He lost a lot of resources. Each of those banelings is 75 resources, being 50 minerals and 25 gas to build, and thus it's a relatively large mineral sink. We do see a wall of turrets here is better able to protect Thorzain. It's going to mean the Mutalisks are not able to enter any part of his base or leave any part of his base, which makes it more dangerous to move over here and try to deal damage, and is really going to limit their effectiveness in overall. Looks like this command center is going to move out. He's actually going to go ahead and just take the gold. If anybody can take it, it's going to be a Terran player, of course, because siege tanks are just so good at maintaining those kinds of holds. And you see that DongRaeGu is actually trying to bust this entrance right here. However, that's actually not going to accomplish anything because there is no third. The expansion is just simply going down right on the gold patches. Now, it is going to be an orbital, not a planetary fortress, which means it should be easier to break than typical. But on the other hand, if a baneling attack comes, like on a planetary fortress, all you have to do is lift the orbital command and run with the SCVs, and, you know, no harm, no foul. Looks like DongRaeGu is actually going to start breaking all of these turrets. He takes a number of hits each time, so he is going to lose some forces every time he engages here, but mostly what he's going to do at this point in time, it looks like he's just going to hurt a couple of barracks and then get on out of there. He does have a lot of banelings and Zerglings. He's probably going to want to do a lot of damage to the mineral line right here, which he might be doing with his Mutalisks, in fact, as he does have control of the watchtower, which Thorzain does not have at this time. Thorzain, with good positioning on his Marines, able to get a free Mutalisk right there. Looks like an attack, though, is going to clean up the rest of these Marines, but at what cost? He did lose a number of Mutalisks there. I think he lost maybe one additional Mutalisk. Pathogen glands is now coming out. Infestors are going to be extremely useful in this sort of situation. You could either use Infestors up here on the cliff in order to pathogen glands, or in order to fungal growth the SCVs. Alternatively, you can use it against the Marines. This is the older patch, so it does in fact do 36 damage plus 30% for 36 damage against non-armor targets, and plus 30% for armored targets. Looks like the attack is not going to come, actually, though, but DongRaeGu is definitely preparing for it. We see the supply counts are actually evening up. Thorzain had been behind for about 20 supply for a large amount of time now. Looks like the attack is coming. A number of SCVs are going in. You can see the queue of the Mutalisks in order to take out as many siege tanks as possible. The SCVs largely able to dodge the majority of those baneling hits, and actually those banelings a little bit of bad control. Actually, a number of SCVs from the combination of the banelings and the Mutalisks did take a large amount of damage. However, there are a lot of replacement Marines right there, which are now able to survive and defend this expansion. The SCVs are now coming back. They're not quite mining yet, but they should be any moment now. There's a large amount of Zerglings actually being prepared by DongRaeGu. DongRaeGu is actually, he does have 74 harvesters, which is a good number of harvesters, but he is stuck on 3 bases right now. And actually, this base was attacked again. Did I miss a drop? I might have missed a drop, or he just never rebuilt that base. I'm not exactly sure at this time. Oh, looks like he did not fill the supply depot wall at the. He did not I guess, replace it after it was destroyed entirely, which is unfortunate for him. He's going to want to close that one. He did not close that one in time, so the Zerglings are going to stream into his base. Looks like he does have a bunch of Marines coming in, though, and that'll be able to clean up the rest of those Zerglings as well. One thing I should mention is that, in fact, I said he didn't have a third base, but I meant he didn't have a regular third base. He does have the gold third base right here. But a large attack coming in. Looks like the Thor target firing the Mutalisk, dealing a decent amount of splash damage. However, the siege tanks do remain alive. A bunch of Marines are coming up to save the siege tanks, but it's not before DongRaeGu is able to snipe them out. The Mutalisks are currently at 1-1, which means they're able to reflect a number of the damage that the Marines would be dealing to them under normal circumstances. Also, a lot of mules are now available for Thorzain. You should be dropping a number of mules in order to be able to catch up on mineral supplies so that he's able to produce the 10 Marines, which he does have the capacity to be able to produce at a time as well. Looks like the Mutalisks are actually just going straight into a group of Marines and able to take out that siege tank right there. Part of it, DongRaeGu's success, I feel like, is his use of Mutalisks and willingness to just go straight into Marine clusters and just take them out, you know, but not under circumstances which result in too many casualties. You know, he just takes out whatever he needs to take out, those 5 Marines, the siege tank, a couple of siege tanks, medevac, and then gets out of there and shows that he's just going to make positive trades over and over and over again, eventually until he wins. And you can see that he's taking a supply lead right now as well, which is being very effective for him in terms of advancing his position. He's now up by 30 supply, which Thorzain should be equaling out with his massive amounts of Marine production, which he is just ramping up now as he dropped a bunch of mules on top of the gold. Siege tank is also in range of these drones. He probably wants one more siege tank down there. I don't know if he can spare it, though. Looks like these Zerglings are going to fly straight on through into the main base. A bunch of Marines are going to fly into the bunker, however, and the siege tank is going to siege up. They should clean that up relatively easily. The Mutalisks do, in fact, attack the bunker, but that was not a very good engagement for them. Lost a couple of Mutalisks there at very little expense, and actually we see the supply counts are now evening up. It's almost like when all the Zerglings get built, DongRaeGu's supplies increase, and then when he attacks, they decrease, and then they even out. And you can see just how evenly matched this game is. Looks like this orbital command is going to be taken. A number of turrets are going up to protect him against DongRaeGu's forces. Looks like a Marine incursion there was able to kill a number of drones, actually. I don't think any got out. We do see another expansion. All those Zerglings do in fact go out while chasing those Marines fruitlessly up there, but another expansion is down here. It is going to be spotted by the Marine. However, that expansion doesn't have any saturation right now. It looks like DongRaeGu is probably oversaturated. Yes, he does have way too many drones on that mineral patch right now. He's probably going to want to spread that out a little bit. Thorzain's doing an excellent job right now in keeping his forces spread, keeping his guard around. I have never seen a Terran player handle Mutalisks quite this well. He is taking, I mean, considering how good DongRaeGu is in control of Mutalisks, he is taking very surprisingly little damage from them. He is able to take out this gold right now, and there are only, what, like 7 drones over here. So it's not very effective at all. Looks like Thorzain did not quite have enough Marines up there. He is stemming his group of Marines on the mineral line up there. But you can see that Thorzain actually has a group of Marines defending everything. At the very minimum, it buys him time, and it also makes DongRaeGu take losses whenever he wants to take something out. He's never going to get a siege tank for free because there's always going to be at least 5 to 10 Marines holding it. And you can see a little drop here from Thorzain coming into the main army. Looks like he will, in fact, get both of those queens, or at least, yes, he will get both of the queens, and he's going to pick up and get out of there from the medevac. That Marine is shooting at a bunch of larvae. Those larvae will die anyway once the creep goes away. Infestors are now ready, so they should be able to actually, they probably will be in range to be able to snipe any SCVs if they want to try to. Of course, it does take 2 fungal growths to take those out. That little rock path is now open, which only frees up those Marines and able to deal with those Mutalisks as well, so the Marines can not only cover this expansion as they were before, but also readily able to join the main army as well. Those Mutalisks are getting some free hits on the siege tank, but they are taken out by the Marines that moved up in order to be able to defend them. Thorzain doing an excellent job in that regard. Looks like a relatively wasted fungal growth. It's only hit 4 Marines, and they're probably going to die anyway. Oh, and it's definitely wasted because those Marines did a great job actually taking out an infestor there. Terrific job on Thorzain's part. He's actually now starting to take a supply lead. He has more bases than his opponent. Attack over here took out a number of drones as well. Mutalisks able to clean that up, but he is now down to 12 Mutalisks. That is not a very scary number. A drop into the main base here is going to focus on the supply spawning pool. He's going to be able to get the spawning pool, and I think he's actually going to deal a decent amount of damage. Oh, I did not see the Baneling. The Baneling is going to prevent any decent amount of damage that I was talking about. Oh, never mind. There are a lot more Mutalisks. He does have 24 Mutalisks. The Mutalisks are going to run straight into the turret line. A couple of Marines are going to stem up and probably scare those away, getting a free Mutalisk kill right there. The Marines 3-3 is on the way, and 3-3 Marines are very scary, especially against Mutalisks, which are only 1-1. They will be 1-2, however, by the time that 3-3 is completed. Thorzain being extremely patient and extremely calm. Nice Thor positioning. Able to take out those Mutalisks. Able to deal a lot of damage to those Mutalisks. Wow, that was a lot of damage. Those Mutalisks did not magic box over the Thor as they should have. Instead, they actually directly targeted it. So very nice job on the part of Thorzain. And actually, he's taking even bigger supply lead. He's now up by 40 supply. He's got a lot of Marines. His drops have been extremely effective. He's got another drop here prepared to go in. An engagement here is taking out a number of the forces here. However, Fungal Growth is being wasted as it's not being used on a very large amount of Marines. Looks like he is going to fungal the SCVs as well, and the Mules are going to be able to clean that up. And at the same time, this expansion has been locked down again, and actually DongRaeGu is just going to GG out of this game. He does not think that he has enough mining to be able to deal with this. The Marines are cleaning it up because Marines just auto fire, and units do not defend if their creator has left the game, or if their player, I guess, has left the game, the owner of the Mutalisks. I don't know how to say it, but it's not important. Whatever, DongRaeGu left the game, which means the Mutalisks just sit there, and the Marines get free pot shots, and because they're not very nice, they like to take those free pot shots. So even though a lot of damage was being dealt to Thorzain, DongRaeGu just thought he was way too behind to be able to come up. He was down by 40 supply. He did not have a fourth expansion. I think he was actually only mining from this base, whereas Thorzain had this base, this gold, which is almost mined out, and then this gold, as well as any number of mules. So whenever he moved a new command center, he could drop a bunch of mules and saturate it instantly. So definitely DongRaeGu was behind that game. Thorzain just did an excellent job keeping his Marines spread out, covering all the areas. DRG had very good control with his Mutalisks, but in the end it just wasn't enough as Thorzain's defense proved indomitable, and Thorzain was in fact able to take that series. So that was a very excellent game 4, and we'll move on to game number 5. This is PGL Milncraft, the rubber game rather. This is PGL Milncraft signing off.